Governments all over the world are turning to algorithms to make some huge decisions about our lives, like who gets benefits, who gets flagged for fraud, even which kids might be at risk. The promise is always about pure efficiency. But what happens when the code gets it totally wrong? Let's dive in.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Should a computer decide your future? It seems like a simple question, but it has absolutely massive implications. We're talking welfare, policing. These automated systems are making calls that people used to make. And the stakes? Well, they could not be higher.
So what are we even talking about here? The official term is Automated Decision Systems, or ADS. Just think of them as these tech systems that are built to either help out a human or, in some cases, completely take over the decision-making in public services.
And you can see why this is so appealing, right? I mean, for governments that are under a ton of pressure to do more with less, the idea of using tech to streamline everything and cut costs, it seems like a no-brainer. When budgets get tight, automation can feel not just logical, but almost responsible.
But a new report from Carnegie UK and the Data Justice Lab decided to dig into what actually happens when that promise falls completely flat. They looked at government projects that were either paused or just canceled altogether. And what they found is pretty staggering.
To really get a grip on the impact, let's just zoom in on one powerful case study from their report. Because this isn't some hypothetical problem. This is the story of a massive, life-altering mistake.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2013, and the state of Michigan rolls out a brand new, fully automated system to catch unemployment fraud. They called it MiDAS, the Michigan Integrated Data Automated System. The whole goal was to crack down on fraud with, ruthless efficiency.
Within just 2 years, the system flagged an incredible number of people for fraud. 40,000.
And here is the absolute gut punch. Those 40,000 people were falsely accused. The system, the one that was supposed to be more accurate and more efficient than people, had a catastrophic failure rate. This wasn't just a glitch. It was a disaster by design.
And the human cost, it was just devastating. These were not just numbers on a screen. Media reports that were cited in the study, they paint this really grim picture. An automated error led to real people losing their homes, losing their financial stability, being thrown into crisis, all because an algorithm wrongly decided they were criminals.
Now, as shocking as that Michigan case is, the report makes it crystal clear that this is not a one-off. It's actually part of a much wider, international pattern of these things going wrong.
The researchers found so many similar stories in different countries across all kinds of public services. From the Netherlands to Australia, this dream of perfect, seamless automation just keeps crashing into a much, much messier reality.
So just how widespread is this problem? Well, just in their first review, they found 61 different automated systems that governments had to either pause or cancel completely. 61 projects where something went seriously, seriously wrong.
And where these failures are happening is incredibly revealing. Look at this. The highest number, by far, is in justice and policing. We're talking predictive policing, faulty facial recognition. Right after that, welfare and fraud detection. I mean, these are areas where a computer error isn't just an inconvenience. It can absolutely ruin someone's life.
So why were these projects shut down? Okay, this part is fascinating. The number one reason wasn't public protests or media outcry. It was internal government concerns about effectiveness. In 31 of these cases, the government itself basically threw up its hands and said, this thing just doesn't work. But right behind that, you see the power of accountability. People, journalists, and lawyers all pushing back and forcing a change.
But look, this report isn't just about pointing out failures. It's also about offering a roadmap for how to do this better. The big question is, how can governments actually innovate with technology without causing this kind of harm?
So the researchers, they lay out a really clear path to get out of this mess, a way to prevent these disasters before they even get off the ground. It's all about innovating responsibly.
They basically boil it down to 3 key steps. First, transparency. Let's create public registries so we all actually know what algorithms are being used on us and where. Second, prevention. We need to require something called an equalities impact assessment before a system is launched. That just means you have to actively check if the system is going to be unfair to certain groups. And third, accountability. You have to shift the burden of proof. The government should have to prove the algorithm is right, not the citizen having to prove it's wrong.
When you put all this together, it really points to a fundamental shift in mindset. We need to move away from this purely technical view of public service towards something more human.
The report draws this great contrast between the flawed, automated approach and what it calls a politics of care. So instead of these cold, quantified decisions, it's about recognizing that humans are complex. Instead of a guilty until proven innocent model, it values actually engaging with the public. It's about putting community well-being ahead of just raw efficiency.
And the stakes are laid out in this really powerful warning from a former UN Special Rapporteur, Philip Alston. He says we need to, quote, alter course significantly and rapidly to avoid stumbling zombie-like into a digital welfare dystopia. Wow.
Which really brings us right back to that central question. At the end of the day, technology is just a tool. It's not good or bad on its own. The real issue here is about governance, it's about power, and it's about our values. So who should get to decide which tools we use and what we use them for? That's a question we all need to start asking.